There is a moment of the day that most people waste without realizing it. It is not in the morning, it is not at noon, it is that instant between 9 p.m. and the moment you finally close your eyes. This interval has a name in the oldest Eastern traditions. It is called the transition portal, the sacred space between the world of doing and the world of being, between everything the day demanded of you and everything the night can give back. Most of us arrive at this portal carrying the entire day on our backs. The unanswered emails, the conversations left unfinished, the worries that settled in and that the mind insists on revisiting when the body finally stops. And so instead of crossing this portal toward true rest, we get stuck in it, too exhausted to act, too agitated to rest. What I am going to share today comes from a wisdom that crossed centuries and continents. A simple nightly ritual built around two ingredients that ancestral traditions always knew how to use together and that modern science is now confirming with growing precision. A cup prepared with intention at the right moment, in the right way. That can be the difference between waking up truly restored or waking up just a little less tired. Stay until the end because in topic 5, I will reveal a simple kitchen ingredient that most people would never associate with this ritual, and that amplifies the effect of everything you will learn today in a way that will surprise you. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching this video from right now? City, country, anywhere in the world? Because this teaching has reached people in places I never imagined, and knowing where you are is one of the things that most moves me to keep sharing. Click subscribe now and turn on the notification bell, and let us begin. Before talking about what this ingredient does inside your body, I need to tell you what it represents, because understanding the symbolism of a plant completely changes the way you relate to it. And when you relate to something differently, the effect that something produces in you also changes. Star anise originates from Southeast Asia, cultivated for more than 3,000 years in China and Vietnam, and it is not by chance that it has the shape of an eight-pointed star. In Oriental numerology, the number 8 represents the balance between the visible and the invisible world, between what is above and what is below, between what was lived and what is yet to come. Each point of the star represents one of the 8 winds of the Taoist tradition, the 8 directions of energy flow that govern the cycles of nature and human life. When you place a star anise inside a cup of hot water, you are not just extracting its active compounds, you are activating a symbol that for millennia has been associated with the idea of wholeness, of a cycle that closes, of a day that ends in peace. Taoist monks used star anise specifically in evening rituals, when the sun set and the work of the day needed to be formally closed before rest could truly begin. It was a conscious act of separation between what was and what is to come, and that gesture had power precisely because it was made with intention. Tradition observed for generations that this specific ingredient, consumed at the right moment, created a feeling of release, as if the entire body exhaled something it had been holding since dawn. It is not magic, it is the accumulated wisdom of those who observed nature with enough attention to understand what it offers when you know how to ask. There is something that happens inside your body every time you receive bad news, every time a difficult conversation occurs, every time a worry settles in, and that most people never notice because the effects are slow, cumulative, and completely invisible until they become impossible to ignore. The nervous system enters a state of alert in response to any event the brain interprets as threatening, and this is survival biology. It is what kept us alive for thousands of years. The problem is that the modern brain does not distinguish between a predator and an urgent email, between a physical threat and pressure from a boss, between a real danger and a financial worry. For the nervous system, tension is tension, and each activation prepares the body to act, tensing the muscles, accelerating the heart, closing the stomach, and sharpening the senses. When this state is activated dozens of times throughout a day, as happens in the modern life of most people, the body cannot fully return to a state of rest between one activation and the next. It keeps accumulating layers of tension that deposit in the muscles of the neck, shoulders, abdomen, jaw, places you may already know by the name of chronic pain with no apparent cause. At the end of the day, when you finally sit or lie down, the body is technically still, but the nervous system keeps running, processing, evaluating, anticipating. That is why the mind accelerates precisely when the body tries to stop. That is why the heaviest thoughts tend to appear exactly when you turn off the light. It is not weakness, it is the nervous system fulfilling its function without having received the clear signal that the day is over and that it is safe to switch off. And it is exactly that signal that the nightly ritual I am going to teach you was created to deliver, not as a trick, not as a placebo, but as a sequence of gestures and ingredients that speak directly to the nervous system in the language it recognizes, which is the language of the senses. Chamomile is probably the most underestimated plant in the Western world, not because it is weak, but because it is too familiar. Familiarity creates a strange invisibility. We look at something we have known since childhood and stop seeing what is there. But the traditions that used chamomile for more than 4,000 years did not choose it by accident or for lack of options. They chose it because it does something that few plants can do with the same gentleness and the same depth at the same time. In ancient Egyptian medicine, chamomile was called the flower of the sun that does not burn, a reference to its capacity to bring light and warmth to the nervous system without the excess that agitates. It was used in the end-of-day rituals by the priests of Ra, not to induce sleep, but to create the state of sacred stillness that precedes true sleep. There is a fundamental difference between being tired and being at peace, and chamomile has always been recognized as the plant that transforms the first into the second. What traditions observed for millennia, modern science has confirmed with growing precision. Chamomile contains natural compounds that soften the edges of the alert state, lower the volume of mental noise, and create that feeling that thoughts are becoming more spaced, slower, less urgent. It is not sedation, it is not numbness, it is release. It is the body remembering that it knows how to rest, that it always knew, and that it was only waiting for the permission that chamomile delivers in a language that existed long before words. When chamomile and star anise are combined in the same infusion, what the medieval European herbalists called compound resonance happens, when two ingredients together produce an effect that neither would produce in isolation with the same intensity and breadth. They are two different entrances to the same state, and when both doors open at the same time, the transition to rest happens in a way that the body recognizes not as something imposed from outside, but as something that was waiting to happen from within. Now I'm going to guide you through the preparation. And I need you to understand before any technical detail that preparing a ritual tea is not the same as preparing any other drink. The difference is not only in the ingredients, it is in the quality of presence you bring to that moment. A tea prepared with distraction and rush carries the vibration of distraction and rush. A tea prepared with attention and intention carries something different, and you will feel that difference in the first cup if you are willing to notice. Start by choosing the moment. 9 p.m. is the time that Eastern traditions identified as the beginning of the yin window of the day, the period when the yang energy of doing naturally begins to give way to the yin energy of being. This is not superstition. It is alignment with the natural rhythm of the body, which around 9 p.m. is already biologically inclined toward transition. Choose a cup you like. Not the first one you find, but one that has a quality of presence for you. The container matters because you are going to hold that cup with both hands, and that is part of the ritual. Boil the water and wait 2 minutes before using. The ideal temperature for this infusion is between 85 and 90 degrees Celsius. Never boiling water directly over the ingredients. Boiling water destroys part of the active compounds in the chamomile and intensifies the tannins in the star anise in a way that makes the infusion bitter and compromises the relaxing effect. Use a generous tablespoon of dried chamomile flowers and 1 whole star of star anise per cup. Avoid industrial chamomile tea bags if you can. They contain lower quality leaf fragments with much lower concentration of active compounds than whole flowers. Cover the infusion immediately after adding the hot water. This retains the volatile essential oils responsible for a significant part of the aromatic and therapeutic effect of both ingredients. The ideal steeping time is between 7 and 10 minutes, not less, because chamomile needs time to release its compounds, and not more. Because above 10 minutes, the star anise begins to release excess tannins that will make the drink bitter. After 10 minutes, remove the star anise, but leave the chamomile flowers for 2 more minutes before straining. Hold the cup with both hands, feel the warmth, breathe in the aroma before the first sip. That moment of conscious pause before drinking is where the ritual truly begins. The moment I promised from the beginning has arrived, and I want you to pay attention because this detail seems small, but changes the ritual in a way you will feel before you even finish the first cup. The ingredient is orange peel, not the juice, not the extract, not any industrialized version, the fresh peel of a common orange, the one you probably peeled today or yesterday and threw away without thinking twice. The surface cells of the orange peel contain an extraordinary concentration of essential oils that have profound effects on the state of relaxation that completely transform the olfactory and sensory experience of the tea. When heated, these oils release an aroma that is simultaneously citrus and floral, stimulating enough to awaken the senses and relaxing enough not to agitate the nervous system you are trying to calm. The Eastern tradition always combined citrus with florals in nightly rituals, and this specific combination is not aesthetic, it is functional. The citrus aroma of the orange peel signals to the nervous system that it is time to transition, not to sleep immediately, but to begin slowing down consciously and gradually. When you combine the aroma of orange peel with chamomile and star anise, you create what aromatherapists call an olfactory chord, a composition of notes that activates different receptors simultaneously and produces a deeper response than any of the aromas alone could achieve. It is the difference between hearing a single piano note and hearing a full chord. The orange peel also adds a layer of complexity that makes the drink more present and more complete, without adding sugar, without compromising any of the effects that chamomile and star anise deliver. Save the orange peels you would normally throw away. A strip of approximately 3 centimeters is enough per cup. Add it in the last 2 minutes of the infusion after removing the star anise. And when you lift the cup for the first sip, breathe deeply over it first, because it is in that first contact with the complete aroma that the most powerful signal of all is sent. There is an illusion that most people carry without realizing that worries wait patiently while you sleep and that you will find them exactly where you left them when you wake up. And by believing this unconsciously, many people refuse to let them go before sleeping, as if holding on to them were a form of control, as if thinking about problems at night were a way of solving them before the next day. But the truth that the oldest traditions knew, and that careful observation of human nature confirms, is exactly the opposite. The state of deep rest does not solve problems through the mental vigil that precedes it. It transforms them during the deepest phases of rest, when the analytical mode switches off and the integrative mode takes over. The most creative solutions, the deepest clarities, the perspectives that change everything, all of them emerge from true rest, not from the rumination that happens at the wrong time. When you go to bed actively carrying your worries, you are preventing exactly the process that could transform them. The tea ritual you just learned is the external gesture, but it needs an internal gesture to be complete. And that gesture is simple, but requires a courage that is not taught anywhere. The courage to trust that the day that passed was already enough, that you did what you could with what you had, and that the questions that are still open will receive your best version tomorrow. There is a practice that Zen monks called closing the book. At the end of each day, before the nightly ritual, they made a mental gesture of closing an imaginary book where all the questions of the day were written, not as denial, not as escape, but as conscious recognition that that chapter ended and that the next one could only be written after rest. You can do this in your own way. It can be a physical gesture of opening your hands and releasing. It can be a phrase said in silence while holding the cup. It can simply be a long and intentional breath after the last sip. You made it here, and that means some part of you already knew it needed this teaching. Not today by chance, but today because you were ready to receive it. The ritual I shared requires nothing you do not already have. It requires no money, no hours, no radical transformation of routine. It only requires the decision to set aside 10 minutes before sleeping to treat yourself with the same care you give to everything that matters in your life. The chamomile will calm what the mind accelerated. The star anise will release what the body accumulated. The orange peel will complete what the other two began. And the gesture of closing the book of the day will open the space for rest to do what only it knows how to do, to restore in silence what life has been spending in movement. Start tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. Because every night of true rest is an act of gentle resistance against everything the modern world does to keep us always connected, always available, always producing. And that gentle resistance, repeated night after night, will build inside you a quality of presence that begins to change everything: the way you think, the way you decide, the way you relate, the way you live. Before you go, tell me in the comments where you are watching from, city, country, anywhere in the world. And if this ritual makes sense to you, write it here too. Because when you declare an intention in a shared space, it gains a weight that the intention kept in silence does not have. Share this video with someone you know is not sleeping well, who wakes up tired, who carries the entire day into the early hours without being able to let go. Press the like button if this teaching touched something in you. Click subscribe and turn on the notification bell. May your night tonight be different from all the others. May the tea be warm, the silence be present, and the rest be true.